Well, hello everybody. This is Blockbuster Bill here for another review. This is my friend Beau,
What's up?
and today we are talking about the 2016 remake of The Jungle Book, directed by Jon Favreau and distributed by
Walt Disney
who else?
Pictures.
Walt Disney.
Mm-hmm.
So, what was your initial impression of it?
The Jungle Book, the original one, is such an interesting movie in that it's really well remembered for the songs and not much else. And so I think this is the one, when I first heard they were remaking it, this was like the one movie where I thought a remake was justified. Because before this, Cinderella was like, it was a good movie, but it didn't justify its existence as a remake. Maleficent, I didn't enjoy that much. And Beauty and the Beast, the jury's out on that because it's not out. It's got a great cast. But The Jungle Book is one of those stories that just needed to be improved on. And I think that Jon Favreau did a fantastic job of doing that.
I will agree. And first and foremost, I will say that it's not a direct remake of the 67?
67.
Yeah, 67 classic. It borrows a lot of elements from it, but it also incorporates a lot of new stuff, a lot of new story direction. And when I use the word new, it's like stuff that you've seen a million times, but not with The Jungle Book. And the effects in this movie were unbelievable.
They were phenomenal. Everyone, you read this in every review that you'll hear or read, but the effects in this movie justify the price of the ticket alone. I know that people say it's impossible to believe that this was all created with CGI in a Los Angeles soundstage, but it really is impossible to believe that it was created with CGI in a Hollywood backlot soundstage.
Yeah, it's this photorealistic looking thing. The jungles looked... They were huge. That's the one word I could use to describe this movie.
The scope
huge.
Is ginormous.
Everything is huge. From the animals to the jungle to pretty much just the smallest detail. It's really huge.
The scope of the settings is huge, but the scope of the story is tiny. They keep it focused and tight on the conflict between Shere Khan and between Mowgli. And even though it's really episodic, just like the original book and original movie, it's got a lot stronger of a thread for the story to exist. Instead of Mowgli, let's go to the man village and avoid a tiger. They give Mowgli a backstory and a reason to despise Shere Khan, and he's a truly despicable villain voiced with such great panache as only Idris Elba can bring it.
Well, yes. And now that you mention it, let's go into the voice cast. First and foremost, Bill effing Murray as Blue. What a match made in heaven. That guy is super laid back and doesn't care. And that's pretty much Blue, just laid back kind of life.
But they, instead of being completely laid back like the original, I love how they made him actually be a bit of a con man in this. Because in the original book, he was a con man. He wasn't a villain, but he wasn't necessarily Mowgli's best friend like he was in the 67 version.
Yeah.
And they kept that. He's still a good guy, and he ends up caring a lot for Mowgli, but in the beginning, he's very much a huckster out for his own self, who grows to care for him. But I love that they kept that version of the character. They took all the elements from the original stories that Disney left out in the original movie. And obviously the Disney creation of King Louie was included in this one, but other than that, everything else came straight from the Jungle Book. His narration, the Bagheera's narration from the beginning.
That's from the original book. Word. Yeah. And that's another thing. There is a lot of, not too much narration. There is a lot of throwbacks.
It's bookended.
Like the beginning, that's the music from the beginning of the 67 film. And it doesn't compromise the experience at all.
Jon Favreau, he did this. You can tell he loves that original story, and he loves Disney animation. The opening shot is a recreation of a shot from Bambi, and there were 2 or 3 others that were almost direct recreations of shots from The Lion King, including the jungle reveal from Timon and Pumbaa, the wildebeest stampede, and the, spoiler alert, when the villain gets defeated. It's a recreation of Scar's death from The Lion King, almost shot for shot, and it's not in a, oh my god, they ripped that way. It's in loving tribute to the whole Disney animation canon. And it just adds a little something extra for all us Disney nerds out there.
Yeah, and if there's anybody that's Disney nerd, it's this guy.
Well, it's not on my shirt.
True. I have the Film Geek shirt, but that is another podcast for another time. And everyone in this cast was pitch perfect. Ben Kingsley as Bagheera,
Giancarlo
Oddly,
Esposito.
Giancarlo Esposito is Aquila, Lupita Nyong'o is Raksha, and oddly enough, I didn't mind King Louis being Christopher Walken. It actually really worked.
Mob boss King Louis is
Mob-
a gigantic syphilis or whatever it's called.
Gigantopithecus or something.
that's
They made
synonyms.
Richard Sherman made sure we knew that. That's really awesome.
Richard
that,
Sherman wrote new lyrics for
that Dick
Wanna Be
Sherman
Like You.
came back.
And that's one of the few things that I felt awkward about the movie was Bare Necessities is really organically incorporated in, and you can't not have the Bare Necessities in a Jungle Book movie, especially if it's got the Disney name on it.
They incorporated it well.
It was very natural, but the transition into Louis singing "Wanna Be Like You" was incredibly awkward.
It was kind of just like, okay, hello, we
there's
got
music.
into.
You've established him as a really creepy mob boss kind of guy, and then all of a sudden he's
And
singing
it's
a '60s jazz song.
Yeah,
Let's
he's
go.
just like.
But once the song got started, it was really cool.
He's just talking,
But-
and then it's just like out of nowhere, there's a musical number, or he just starts singing.
Well, they did have a cowbell.
Yeah, that he realized that there's a cowbell.
King Louis'
Easter
introduction involves
and
a cowbell.
His mind was
Glorious
so
action.
so blown. He's just like, oh my god, dude, they incorporated an SNL.
They incorporated more cowbell. They
got more cowbell.
They cured his fever for more cowbell.
Of course,
Sorry.
he is the
Couldn't
king. And yeah, let's go into what we didn't like, and there's very few stuff. There's more. It's more nitpicky than anything. Scarlett Johansson, sorry, as Ka was very underused. She did a good job, but
and
she
her
was very
scene
underused.
it wasn't expendable like some people I read said. It did a good job of establishing and moving the plot forward and establishing the conflict.
Good exposition.
It's great exposition. It's just it was so short. She was really underutilized.
I loved her eyes too.
The way they did the hypnotic eyes was so cool. She was a great character for the little time she had on screen.
Yeah.
But I really feel like Ka deserved more than the 5-minute cameo he got, basically.
Or she, either way.
My bad, I'm so sorry.
It's a snake. So, yeah, it's a really solid film. Definitely worth checking out.
It's one of those movies that is worth hunting down on the largest 3D screen possible. It's a cinematic experience. Like, they did such a good job with the scope of these environments and the story, and it's not 3D in your face for being in your face sake. They do some great jump scares with Shere Khan, and even Bagheera gets one in the beginning.
Yeah, and Louis has a very
King
good
Louis
one.
has an amazing one.
He's actually really scary for kids.
King Louis is terrifying.
He's
so cool.
Giant,
12-foot tall.
It's an extinct ape, but this thing was huge, and it actually existed, so that just makes it even more creepy. And the 3D isn't like, in your face. We're just throwing stuff in our face. No, it's just like, look, something like birds are flying by.
They use it to
stuff.
establish depth of field in
like
the
you
shots.
feel like the jungle,
like
is
that
this
jungle
huge,
shot from
huge
Lion
place.
King I was telling you about earlier.
Oh yeah,
like you can see the depth. You can see it really feels like it's going on for miles. That what you're looking at instead of you're looking at something artificially stretched out. And the few times they do stick something in your face, like I said, it was the animals jumping out for jump scares or snarling, and it was fun and earned instead of just cheap 3D tricks.
Yeah, it really did work, and everything in this film very much worked. The stuff that didn't was very
few and far between.
Very, very few and far between.
Mm-hmm.
And do you want to rate it, or you got anything else to?
Basically, this movie for me set the new bar for. It finally established a reason for Disney to be remaking their animated movies. This movie took the things that everybody loved about the original and improved on it, and not in a bad way. They didn't pad the story in any way. They drew from the original Kipling stories, moved on, improved on it, made it a fun, slightly scary, but ultimately great family adventure film that The Jungle Book always deserved to be. And if the upcoming Disney remakes like Mary Poppins, Peter Pan, the new Alice movie, like all those,
Beauty and the Beast.
The one that doesn't need to exist was Cinderella or Maleficent, in my opinion.
At least they didn't do Disney's Snow White. Oh wait, no, they're doing her sister. Forgot.
But that's not Snow White. Anyway,
that's true.
If this movie is setting the bar for their animated remakes, it justifies their existence finally. And if any of them are as good going forward, then I am totally on board for whatever they come up with next. If they keep getting Jon Favreau level talent for these movies and people who actually care as much about these films as you can tell he did, then they are in very good hands, and they definitely should keep this up.
And Jungle Book it's your favorite
One of
Disney.
them. No, it's not my favorite.
It's one of them at
Not my
least.
favorite, but it's up there in top 5 for sure.
Yeah, and we also saw this in IMAX 3D. Definitely find the biggest screen that you can, like
biggest
best
3D
sound
screen.
quality. Definitely do that.
The surround sound in this film was amazing when Ka came out, and
yeah,
it was just moving. You could feel her voice slithering around you in the theater. It was
like it's like
skin crawling.
Here,
it was so cool. Oh my god, they had so much fun with that sound mixing.
Utilize this technology to its full potential.
Yes.
I'm going to say it. This is the third time in a row, but this is true. This is a blockbuster. It's a
absolute blockbuster.
Great film. And
go see it.
Go see it. Definitely go see it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be giving some updated videos and a new thing I'm going to try. It's going to be called Flashback Friday. And by that, I'm going to be looking at some old films and seeing... I have a lot of old movies. I'm going to see if I like them or if I don't. I'm sure I won't like all of them, which is going to be sad, but you know what? I got to grow up sometime.
So, this movie will officially rate it. It's a blockbuster.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Definitely
sure.
see it. And it's making a lot. It had a very strong
it just
opening.
Came out. The numbers just came out today.
Yeah, 103.5 million.
That's April record, I think.
It is
pretty sure that's April record. So, Billy, do you have an impressionable impression for this film?
I think Carl Weezer should probably come into this and say, I really like the Jungle Book, but could have used more llamas. And
Everything needs more llamas.
everything does need more llamas.
Llama.